Hello, good evening, and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation podcast live with me, your host, Owen David, guys. And tonight I am joined by Andrew from the Ibrox channel. Andrew, how are you doing, buddy? How's your day? And
I'm not too bad.
How's the week?
Do you know, it's not been a bad week so far. It's getting exciting on the transfer front, isn't it? Because it's not long till the window closes. But I'm doing good, Owen. Thank you for asking. So thank you for having me on as well. It's an absolute honour to be on your podcast.
No problems. Thank you very much for coming on. Yeah, it's finally hotting up on the transfer front, finally getting in some new faces and some exciting new faces, which I'm sure we'll touch on in this podcast tonight. A few people in the live chat already. One of our regular contributors, Pure Loyalist, and we've also got Richard as well, Mez as well. And then I'll be clicking up your comments throughout the podcast. Before we start tonight, Andrew, just tell everyone, obviously, that anyone that's not aware of, or about the Ibrox channel. Where can we find it? What do you do? Tell us all about it.
Yeah, the Ibrox channel, it's a podcast that's available on all major platforms. If you are searching for it in your podcast store, it's under the new Ibrox channel because there's a problem with the old feed that we used to have. Have a website as well. There's some blogs on there. So I've done some blogs on there myself. One's on Clermont, certain results, and some other people have put some contributors have put some stuff on there as well. The website's theibroxchannel.com. And basically, it's just a place for me to vent my frustrations a lot of the time in recent years. And I enjoy talking about Rangers, much like yourself, Owen. And I just want to share that with everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah, so guys, go and check it out. Fantastic podcast. Give it a listen. Should obviously give it a follow on whatever platform it is you guys use out there. A few people obviously in the live chat. Now, one topic I've seen that's come up in the live chat, and quite a few people bringing it up, is Hefte. I think that is the correct pronunciation of the name. He's disappeared. He's gone AWOL, apparently, Andrew. It was complicated anyway. So apparently the deal had been agreed between Fluminense and Rangers, but he was on a loan to Apoel. What's your take on this whole situation about him disappearing, and is this going to scupper the move?
Well, it's a very strange thing. I did see that pop up on Twitter earlier today that allegedly he's AWOL and nobody's had contact with him for, I throw the words a couple of days. I think, first of all, hopefully he's okay. You never know in the footballing world. You never know, there could be a mental health crisis or something. So hopefully he is okay. It could be one of these situations where, have we got somebody there like a Carlos Pena of the past who would, who likes going out a bit too much? Could it be that type of situation as well? I don't know. It doesn't look good if you're looking to sign a player that's potentially done a bunk. Obviously, we don't know what's happened with him, but there's a lot of weird stuff going on in Cypriot football at the minute, it appears. There's quite a few clubs that have got a lot of sanctions in place. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. But is the left-back situation something that's really desperately needing attention at the minute? No. If it's one of the ones to fall through, then, you know what, for me at the minute, so be it.
Yeah. I mean, there's obviously a lot around that left-back position at the moment, isn't there? I mean, talk was obviously that possibly Ridvan would be on his way out of the club, but Rangers have rejected Galatasaray's bid. And I've read today that Galatasaray are not going to increase the bid. And will only come back in apparently if Rangers accept that. I think the translation was discount, but obviously reduced fee. Rumours obviously around Borna Barisic as well. Apparently that he wants a new contract, but the club haven't offered him one despite rumours in the media. With this whole situation, with this left back issue, Andrew, who would you think it's a situation that we're going to have Ridvan and Barisic at the end of this window, or do you see one of them going before the end of this window?
I think it all depends on the price. If the price, every player has their price. If Galatasaray were to come in with a better offer, which it doesn't look like they are, according to the reports, then I think he probably would go. However, it would leave us very short at left back because, of course, Barisic, at one point he was a world-class left back, but he's regressed dramatically over the years, sadly. So he's just not a reliable option. He's very much a form player these days. He seemed to under Clermont play, fairly decent-ish. He was a bit more attacking, and I don't know if it was Beale's tactics possibly that kept Barisic back a little bit as well, because there was a couple of games I was watching where he barely went over the halfway line. But Yeah, if we can keep a hold of Yilmaz in this window, fantastic, because the wee man's really motored on, and it's really good to see somebody just attacking that's not too dissimilar to what Tav has been doing for years, just, really bombing forward and being dangerous. And of course, his goal against Tibbs, that was just absolutely fantastic, wasn't it?
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, fantastic. And look, I mean, one thing for me, I've kind of looked at Ridvan, and he's had this run in the team where he stayed fit. He's finally looking like a quality player. He's kind of filling in the gap that kind of Seema's left as well, has been that attacking threat down the left, with Seema out injured, obviously, until the end of the season. For me as well, I don't know about you, Andrew, but I think if we hang on to him to the end of the season and he keeps showing the form that he's done, he's going to be worth a whole lot more than the 4-5 million that's been talked about at this stage of the season.
I totally agree. Obviously, Yilmaz himself probably hasn't been too happy. Probably in recent months, that seems to have been allegedly the case. We're only going on what has been, allegedly said, and that's understandable. Every player wants to fight for their place. But it's been very stop-start. There's been injuries involved, so hopefully now he's at a point where it could be a situation where he's actually now trying to put himself in the shop window. Maybe that's why he's performing better. That could be another thing as well, because there have been alleged reports linking him in the previous window to other moves as well that just haven't seemed to have come off. So keep a hold of him. If he wanted to go in the summer and maybe get a bit more money from him, then I'm all for it. But I'd love to keep a hold of him a bit longer. Hopefully, it's not just a bit of form that he's showing at the minute. Hopefully, this consistency stays.
Absolutely, 100% agree with you on that one. And Blue Baron asked, is Seema out for the rest of the season? I think it was 3 months. I think it was, Andrew. He said that Clement said that he's going to be missing.
End of April, isn't it? Yeah. So I'm surprised. I'll be surprised if Brighton let us kind of keep him here till the end of that period. It wouldn't surprise me if they just kind of recall him, so their medical team can kind of assess him. But I guess it just depends. Yeah. Because I wouldn't trust our medical team in recent times.
I've seen that joke quite a few times, that you come back with a 10-day injury and let Rangers medical team loose on you, it becomes a 10-month injury. And I know I read one of the comments that one of my commenters put that asked, do Rangers medical staff put bandages on with nail guns?
Yeah. Oh, well, there's something going on. Somebody's got a voodoo doll somewhere. I keep saying it. There's a voodoo doll somewhere, because it just doesn't add up, does it?
No, 100%. Good point RFC 72 makes here as well. If he goes to the Euros with Turkey, that bumps the price up a bit as well if he does well, which is a great point about Ridvan. Certainly, for the future. And there's a lot of people obviously saying that, that he'll be in the Turkey squad no matter what, and are very impressed with the caliber of football that he's been playing. Now, obviously, the last game we played, Andrew, obviously was the St Mirren game on Saturday. What were your general thoughts about the St Mirren game on Saturday?
It was a typical game out in Paisley, wasn't it? It wasn't the prettiest game. Clement said that before the game. It was not going to be a nice footballing affair. But it felt, going into it, that, this could be a potential banana skin. It can be one of them. But I have to say, I think it was quite a professional job. Now, going into the game, when I saw the team sheet, I saw St Mirren going with 3 at the back. I thought, they're not looking to defend, and rightly so. They can hurt us at times when they play at home, and it was quite an attacking lineup. They didn't just sit back either. It was an interesting start to the game as well, but you know what, I have to say, the goal, Dessers, he couldn't do it at Parkhead, but he did it there, and what a ball from Lundstrom to him. I have a feeling in my gut that is a huge win for us as we go into this part of the season. I don't know why, at the final whistle, I just thought that is a huge win. Because there have been seasons in the past where, especially after the winter break, where we seem to just be a weird mess. We don't seem to be like that at the minute. Granted, there's still work it needs doing. There were still moments in the game where, Butland had to be called into action, make a few saves. But then we could have killed the game as well when Tav hit the post with that shot, which was a cracking shot. Yeah. And you know what? I think one of the key points to it was the fact that Clement wasn't scared to make the changes just after half time. We always normally see the subs come 60 minutes, no matter how the game's going. Gerrard done it, Gio done it. So it's good to see, and that's a few times this season that Clement has gone, right, this ain't working, just change it now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Yeah, it wasn't the best of displays. It was, like you said, I think it's what the risk of sounding arrogant, the risk of perhaps of tempting fate a little bit. It's kind of what champions do, isn't it? You know, they go places, they don't play well, they win games, and they come away with games where perhaps it should have gone away as a draw. I mean, Jack Butland was absolutely outstanding yet again, and I think, you know, the Notts Forest allegedly paying 10 million for him is just an absolute joke. But I was very impressed with some of the players on Saturday. I mean, John Lundstrom, I thought, was absolutely brilliant again. I mean, since Philippe Clement's come in, that guy has really stepped it up, and that yet again, and the second game in a row, Andrew, the pass for the goal, just
Exquisite.
building on, just amazing, just fantastic. I mean, where's this boy getting this from his locker?
Well, he seems to have always had it in a sense. You know, we remember when Lundstrom was the best on earth, and we were singing that all the time. Anytime Belinda Carlisle would come on the radio, you couldn't help but sing it. Especially after that Europa League run, he was just immense. He was an absolutely fantastic player. And then last year, granted, he wasn't the only one, but a lot of players were just different. There was definitely something wrong with the team, the chemistry, everything. But you know, I think Clement's managed to get the leash off him, so to speak. You know, I think he's managed to kind of get him to do what he's good at. You know, he can sit there in the midfield and he can, you know, pick out a pass. You know, the two passes in the past two games, they're just absolutely filthy, absolutely brilliant. Sorry, absolutely. I'm just choking on my own spit there. I'm getting excited about Lundstrom, you see.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I mean, the lob pass for Ridvan in the Hibs game was like I said, it was absolutely filthy. It was just dirty. It was just unbelievable. And then to follow it up with that pass to Dessers. And look, I've criticised Dessers this season on numerous occasions, but that finish was top class from him. You know, the one thing that continues to worry me, Andrew, and I think we saw that in the Hibs game, was Dessers' consistency at finishing is a worry. You know, yes, he scored a number of goals. I think it's 12 goals he's up to now. But even in that Hibs game, you see that a brilliant finish from him, fantastic finish from him. But then a few moments later, he's one-on-one with the goalkeeper and he smashes it straight at the keeper. That still slightly concerns me about Dessers, is that the kind of enigmatic nature of him.
No, you're totally right to be concerned. You know, his stats kind of, you look at the stats and go, you know, that's not too bad, you know, with the amount of goals he's actually scored this year. However, there was somebody posted a snippet of an article in the week over on Twitter that was, I think, comments from Ronald de Boer, and said he is very much a form player. If his form's good and he's playing well, he will score. If he's not, he will not be scoring. And that we've kind of seen. There's been games where he hasn't looked too good. There's some games actually where he's looked better potentially as a number 10. And actually, that's a good comment there. Dessers is good when he doesn't have time to think. He's instinctive. I totally agree. You know, look at his goal against Real Betis. Absolutely brilliant. I think as well at the game at Parkhead, I think we knew that when he missed that one-on-one chance, which you don't get one-on-ones often there. And when he messed that up completely, I think you just knew the rest of the game he wasn't going to do too much. I think his head was down. But, you know, it's a weird one. It's a conundrum. You're not going to drop him anytime soon. However, I think it does highlight that, you know, we do need one more striker in, I think, just to make sure, especially now with Seema's injury, with Kemar Roof. I think we just don't know what's happening with Kemar Roof, you know. I feel sorry for him. He would be the best player at the club if he was fit, 100%. I totally think that would be the case because we know what he's capable of. But Dessers, you know, there could be a point in the season when push comes to the shove. Will he be able to handle it then? We'll have to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the one thing that worries me, is that I think I was reading on Four Lads, and I think it was Stevie made the point, is that, you know, look, we're not overly criticising him for what he's doing. It's more that when it really genuinely matters in these big games, like the one at Parkhead, you know, like the one that's coming up in April against them at Ibrox, in the next round of the Europa League, that's when he's got to do it on a consistent basis. And I think that's the little worry that we've all got going forward for the rest of the season. When the going gets tough, if his head's not up, is he going to let us down? Can he score us the goals to fire us to the title? I think you're spot on with what you say. We do need that number 9 to come in. You know, I mean, look, Fabio Silva. I mean, if we took, obviously he didn't come on at all on Saturday against Mirren. I mean, he did play obviously from the start against Hibernian. But for me, Andrew, he's not an out-and-out striker.
Yeah, no, he's an interesting one. Silva's definitely a good footballer, 100%. He's worth 30 odd million, and you can tell that Wolves want to keep a hold of him because there's no option to buy. So he's definitely one that they're looking at for the future. I always find it's quite difficult with the January transfer window when you're kind of taking somebody that's maybe not in form or not getting a game. You know, they're kind of a bit out on their own, so to speak. It's very hard to adjust to Scottish football sometimes, especially we've seen it with lots of footballers in the past. I think he didn't play because on the weekend there against Mirren because I think, you know, Clement's probably looked at the pitch and thought, you know what, adjust, we'll get you in the games, you know, over the next few weeks, you know, just take your time. Because it probably wouldn't have maybe been the game to suit him. He's a clearly talented guy. He's very good on the ball. But it's going to be one of these where I think it might take him a few weeks to really start motoring on. He's had a few good chances in the games that he's come on, but there's still, I think there's a bit of an adjustment period needed for him. And I think that's what Clement's highlighted, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, Craig says here that he thinks he's more a number 10. I mean, for me, Andrew, there was some interesting. I mean, the Hibs, not so much Hibs game, but the Copenhagen friendly. There was some interesting interplay between him and Cantwell, where they seemed to rotate positions, where Cantwell would go in advance of Silva, and Silva would drop back into that 10 role. I mean, maybe, you know, looking at Silva, looking at the type of player he is, the fact that he was going back, getting the ball, that he was coming from out wide and dribbling in against a Hibernian. Maybe he would be better suited to actually playing where Seema played and actually coming from that left-hand side rather than actually playing as an out-and-out striker.
Could very well be. That left-hand side, you know, it was good that we had Seema there because he was still able to cut in and score quite a few goals. He's going to be a massive loss to us now for the rest of the season. It's a possibility he might be able to play there. You know, in my head, I still have hope in Matondo. I think that ship's slowly sailing away now because if you've got the pace of somebody like Matondo there, that'd be great. But I just don't think he's hitting the heights. But, you know, it's possible Silva could. You know, he's got the ability, he's got the footwork. I think it would work potentially out there on the left, but you know what, we'll see. I think it depends who comes in the next couple of days because I think we definitely are having a striker coming. It just feels like that is one area that we do need.
Absolutely. We'll get to that striker debate, one of the big ones amongst the fan base. Stuart makes a good point here. He says our midfielders are worried to me. Cantwell and Raskin aren't big game players fit for us. You know, one thing that's kind of worried me a little bit, Andrew, over the last couple of games, and I've had some pretty big criticism for saying this, but you know, the player I'm going to talk about, I love this guy. I think he's a great addition to the squad. I do like him. Is Todd Cantwell. Look, I love Todd. I thought the end of last season he was by far the best player in Scotland, and yes, this season he's had his injury troubles. He's had, you know, some other off the field issues. Obviously, you know, when he missed the Betis game for personal issues. Todd Cantwell, I mean, what's your take on him this season? What's gone wrong?
I don't know if he's started to stagnate a little bit now. Under Beale, he was being played in several positions. I like him best when he's in behind the striker. I think that's where he's at his most creative. We did that in the he played there in the Old Firm game at Ibrox, a 3-0 win towards the end of last season, and it does work very well from there. Being moved around, he is capable of playing in different positions, but it just seems that it's like the Hibs game, for example. He just didn't look there, and at times you forgot he was playing. I don't know if he's now just in a little bit of a rut. Maybe he's carrying a knock. You know, and you look at Raskin as well coming back. That he had a bit of a good dynamic with Raskin before he got injured as well. That's an interesting one with Cantwell because I'm sure Clement's just as frustrated at the minute. You know, midfield, you know, you've got Lundstrom now who is performing much better. Like all other players seem to be under Clement, but Cantwell just seems to be just lacking behind. He's got a fairly decent touch. You know, he can move around well, but then sometimes it's that final ball. Sometimes you get caught under the ball, and I don't know, is it a confidence thing possibly? I don't know. It's a difficult one. It is a bit of a three-pipe problem, so to speak, with Cantwell, because you don't want to drop Cantwell. You know, you want him in that midfield, but something does need to change.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think one thing that worries me, obviously, you know, he is a player that is capable of absolute fantastic moments. You know, like we saw with that goal against Hibs, it was an absolutely brilliant finish. But I mean, I made the joke on my live stream, can someone please ring the Edinburgh police? Todd Cantwell's gone missing, because it did seem that first half that he was nowhere to be seen in that game. I mean, he had a few more touches, got a little bit more involved against St Mirren, but then was obviously taken off again at half time by the manager. It is a worry. We do need to get him back to being what he was, because I think, Andrew, that, on his day, on his game, he is the best 10 in our squad, and he is the best 10 in this league.
Oh, I totally agree. As Chris Sutton once said in an article when he was at Norwich, he's got the potential. We all know, what he was worth. Back in 2020, he was worth an absolute fortune. He does need to get back to his best, and I'm sure that Clement and the coaching team are looking at ways of revitalising him, because they've done wonders with this squad as it is to have these consistent results. So, yeah, hopefully we'll see a bit of a different Todd Cantwell in the next few weeks.
Do you think, one of the things that's obviously been talked about is that, Philippe Clement he always makes a point, talking about he likes players that have the right attitude. So in terms of, like Sterling, the ability to go and play anywhere he's asked to play. If he's asked to play central midfield, he does it. If he's asked to play left wing, like in the last game, which really didn't work, he goes and does it. He plays wherever he's asked. And do you think, I think ever since that game against Aris, do you think there's perhaps been a breakdown in the relationship between the manager and Todd Cantwell? I just think that maybe Clement doesn't quite like Cantwell's attitude, but knows that he is a very talented player. But at the moment, he knows he hasn't got anything better.
Well, that is a possibility, because he wasn't afraid to substitute him early on, was he? In that game, was he? We're about 20 minutes in, he knew it wasn't working, he took him off. I think they looked a bit fractured then. Yeah, it's very much a possibility, because but at the same time, Todd Cantwell, I think, needs to have a look, and because Clement won't be scared to drop him. I'm saying that I wouldn't want to drop him, but Clement would be scared to drop him, especially now when you got other options coming into the midfield, like Diomande, and so yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, there's a few people suggesting what RFC 72 suggested, obviously, which is doesn't fancy him, and I think he'll be gone in the summer. That is a possibility. He does like his team players, doesn't he, Clement? But I think you're right there, Andrew, with what you say, is that quite clearly, he is not afraid, Philippe Clement, to make those decisions and to put people out of the team. When he sees fit, as far as he's concerned, it's his team. He will make the decisions, and it doesn't matter how big you are or how big you think you are. Philippe Clement, the decision rests with him, and he will take those decisions. And personally, I really like that side of him, and I love his passion, and I just think he's the right man to take this club team forward, 100%.
A real manager. You could see that from his time in Belgium and what he done, going to one club, winning the title there, then the next season jumping ship to a rival club, then winning the title with them in the same league. He's very good at captivating players, very good at coaching them, and as players have said continually, he keeps it simple. They understand their roles.
Absolutely, 100%. And yeah, he does, and he that's one thing for me as well that it immediately changed since he's come in. And I get, we get flack for criticising him repeatedly, but I think, Beale was a disaster. Clement has given the team an identity. He's given them tactics. He's given them real hunger as well. I think one thing I've been really impressed, Andrew, since he's come in is whenever we lose the ball, we seem to now hunt in packs. We don't just kind of go, okay, well, you have it, play with it, do what you want with it. Now there is a determination from all 10 outfield players to hunt that ball back and get that ball back as quick as possible.
Last time we were really good at that in the league was probably the 55 season. Off the ball, tactically, we were very good at trying to persevere and win the ball back. That's something we continued with in Europe after, but it was something that really kind of died out a bit in the league, that we just weren't as good at winning that ball back. And that's something that Sterling's very good with, especially when hunting that ball back. Yeah.
Absolutely, 100% agree with you on that. Yeah, it is. And Sterling's been fantastic. I mean, for a guy who wasn't intentionally a midfield player, was actually a fullback, stays central defender. He's been superb since he's come into the team. And I think all credit to Philippe Clement for thinking outside the box and putting him into that position. And Dujon, to me, looks like an absolute beast of a player.
Oh, he does. When he loses that ball, he's getting it back himself, isn't he? And that's something that you really like to see. It would be very interesting to see it going into Europe back when we get into the round after the next one, because I think he might be a very key player when it comes to the defensive tactics and winning the ball back. I think he's going to be fantastic with that.
Do you think that Sterling is now, the expectation was that long term that maybe he was the replacement for Tav? My God, I'm going to get slaughtered for that. But, that he was that replacement for Tav long term. Do you think now that actually, no, he is a central midfield player, he is a CDM, that is where we need to use him now, and it's not even worth putting him back at fullback?
I think so. I think he'd be happy with that because he's getting the game time and he seems comfortable in the role. Obviously, that day will come where we look at having to replace Tav, but I don't think that's anytime soon. There was talk of him being a yard off pace at the start of this season, but that seems to have gone now. I think everyone seems to be looking in a bit of a better place. So unless Tav's getting injured, I don't see anybody slotting in there just yet.
Absolutely, yeah. CJNI says in the live chat, I think Sterling's better than Bassey. Is he the next Calvin Bassey, Andrew? Is that
Calvin Bassey? Do you know what? You can see the comparisons. A defender that's utilised in midfield, and he's an absolute ox. So yeah, no, I can see that. I could, especially again with winning the ball back and stuff, and just the absolute power he has. Oh, totally. And look at Bassey now. He had that little spell at Ajax which just wasn't working for him. Sometimes, well, Ajax is a bit of a bin fire at the minute anyway. But you look at Fulham now, and he seems to be settling in there quite well, doesn't he? So yeah, hopefully we can have. This would be good with the player trading model in the future. Maybe in about 3 seasons, Sterling could be the next big player to go, possibly. Absolutely. Not wishing him away, though.
No, absolutely not. Carl says Sterling, Diamande, Lundstrom, Cantwell, Butland, strong spine. A lot of people are commenting, obviously, about that spine that Sterling can bring to the team. And about him being a tank, he is an absolute tank. Now, he obviously touched on that trading model that is now being brought in. And we're hearing an awful lot of this trading model. Do you think this I don't know, personally speaking, Andrew, I find this a real exciting change in the club, that there seems to be this real change in transfer philosophy that's now about bringing in these young players, looking at Scandinavia, looking at South America, looking at, Austria, looking at Croatia and Serbia, and looking at these less popular places to go and get players. And, it seems that we're kind of finally moving in a very positive direction with the transfer strategies.
I do agree. Well, that the player trading model is, something we looked at when Dave King came in, because it was obviously a mess. We would buy players and they would end up, being released, or worse, we sell them for a lot less than what they're for. And looking at these markets now, Niels Koppen, an absolutely fantastic, he's unearthed some absolute talent in recent years, PSV and all these other places. And I think as well, the fact that Philippe Clement's quite good at identifying a player as well. Scandinavia, I think it's somewhere we should have been tapping into before. You look at where Morelos came from at Finland, wasn't it? We got him there for, what was it, £1 million? What an absolute bargain. Why aren't we going over there looking for the next Morelos? It's something we should have been doing a long time ago. But and especially, that comment there, Scandinavia's having a bit of a golden generation at the minute. It really is. You look at the clubs there that have been performing in Europe. It's been absolutely, brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is some very talented players obviously come out of Scandinavia. Odegaard, Haaland, to name but 2 out of Norway, obviously, and Sweden's obviously had a reputation over the years producing some fine footballers as well. So yeah, it is a lot cheaper. You look there, you're paying in the £1.5 to £3.5 million price bracket, so as high as say 4 or 5 million. The moment you go across and start looking at Bundesliga, La Liga, EPL, you're talking just ridiculous sums of money for players that, unfortunately, for those of us who remember the days of Laudrup and Gaza and the days of Souness when we could buy who we want, unfortunately, those days are gone now. And this is where we are as a club now, isn't it, Andrew? I think really.
We can't buy the ready-made player anymore. We're not going to sign a 30-goal-a-season striker anymore that's ready to just come in. So it is going to be those players that we have to find that are promising prospects, or players that are rough diamonds that we can coach and at the right age for it. And I'm all for it. You can get this you can get this kind of thing where you become a bit of a project club, and obviously I don't want that to be the case where we constantly are just churning in players and not working, churning them out, and we're not winning anything. So obviously you've got to have that nice balance with it. But no, you know what, it's good that we're looking in these markets, because you look at all the big clubs around the world, Chelsea's, you know, scouting system, which I know there's a lot of restrictions going into scouting and stuff now with how many players can be on books and things and loan deals. But, you know, that's what other teams were doing to make money. So, you know, why can't, you know, we do something similar?
Absolutely. And look, I mean, if you look at the players, and we touch obviously on the transfer window so far, I mean, look, it looks like obviously the Cortez deal is a long way near to being done. It's according to the reports that have come out of a number of sources, it's medical and international clearance that we're waiting on. But it looks obviously, you know, Diamande's arrived now that we have the official pictures of him at Ibrox with Philippe Clement.
Oh, they're great pictures, aren't they?
Fantastic.
They're great pictures. He's a proper Rangers man, isn't he? It's not just that one top. He's in another top now. They put out earlier. Oh, brilliant. He's a Rangers man. Brilliant. Yeah,
absolutely. What's your take on Diamande? I mean, personally, I like him. I think he's going to be an exciting talent. He can play in a number of roles. He can play out wide. He can play central midfield in the 8 role. He can play in the 10 role. He's even currently fielding at left back. He looks a real prospect to me.
Yeah, you know, I think looking at him, I think, you know, a lot of people have been commenting that they reckon he's, you know, potentially a Lundstrom replacement for that kind of role, like in that kind of centre mid role. But, you know, you look at what Philippe Clement said, you know, he's one of the biggest, hottest prospects in Scandinavia. So, you know, we're already just looking in that market, and we've allegedly taken one of the hottest prospects already. He was highly thought of at his former club. You see the video that his club put out, you know, saying goodbye. And he looks like somebody that can hopefully create. Now, obviously, I don't think adjustment will be too difficult, you know, Scandinavia to Scotland, but never say never. It's just somebody that's exciting. Anybody that, because I personally haven't watched him play. I know he was up against Fenerbahce and Ryan Kent. I spotted a picture earlier today. So, you know, he was against a former Rangers player this season in a game that they won 6-1. But from what everybody says, he is one of the players for the future. And it's good we've managed to snap up somebody like that at a decent price, that hopefully this can reignite the player trading model. Obviously, hopefully we have him for a couple of seasons at least, you know. And yeah, it's from what I've seen everywhere, it does look positive, and it really is exciting. I'm trying not to go down the rabbit hole of the YouTube videos, because I did that with Cifuentes, I did that with Lamas, and I'm like, oh, these are good. But, you know, sadly, I think Cifuentes wasn't really utilised in a more of an attacking midfield role, which he probably should have been. But, you know, that's another debate for another day.
Yeah, absolutely. And RFC72 says, Owen, I've watched Norges land a fair bit. He's a real talent. Just how quick he adapts to Scotland is the only problem. And I think that's the same for, you know, when anybody transfers league to league, it's how quick they adapt. And, you know, as we know, British football, whether it's in Scotland or in England, is so unlike anything else in the world. No leagues have the physicality, the speed, and in the case of Scotland, the hammer throwers.
Totally.
That you'd find here, you don't get those even in the Danish leagues, the Norwegian leagues, that, you know, that quite happily hack your leg off with their studs, like some of the players at someone like the St Johnstones and Ross Counties of this world. Another player, obviously, that is, according to obviously the media, it looks, and I trust obviously what's been said by sources in the know, Oscar Cortez, a winger, another Colombian, hopefully not quite as crazy as the last Colombian we had, and perhaps with a little bit of a calmer temperament would be nice. What's your take on Oscar Cortez?
He's a right winger. Oh, hello. This is what we're looking for. I think we haven't had a nailed on right winger. Obviously, we've got McCausland at the minute, who's been breaking through fantastically. But, you know, since Daniel Candeias, really, we haven't had a proper right winger. And this just absolutely excites me to actually go after, you know, he was Colombia's top goal scorer at the American Youth Championships last year for the unders. He's, you know, it gives McCausland a bit of competition as well, I think, and that helps his development. So I think it works all round. But it's an area we definitely have been needing, you know, somebody else, because we can't be relying on McCausland. Sometimes it can be a bit damaging to somebody's career. You look at last year when we had to utilize. Oh my goodness, I can't remember his name. King.
Leon
at the
King.
back. Leon King. Oh my
Leon
goodness,
King,
my
yeah.
brain just went there. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
At the Liverpool game, we had to bring on Leon King, and he was thrown in at the deep end, and it seemed to. I think it did him a bit more harm than good last year when he was kind of constantly in the firing line. So this is good. This will help with McCausland's development, because McCausland's another fantastic prospect that we got there, somebody that takes people on. So it's just good to start having that little bit of squad depth, I think, people you can turn to on the bench rather than us just having an injury-ridden squad all the time. So it's just exciting.
Absolutely. Cortez, like you say, looks like finally the replacement for Daniel Candeas. I think that's obviously something we've been crying out for years now. And this guy looks the real deal. He can play 10, he can play left, he can play right. He looks an absolute talent. And I think, like you, Andrew, I've been trying to stay away from YouTube videos because, look, I'm sure you can find a YouTube video to make anybody look really good. I mean, Sam Lammers even looks good on YouTube in some videos. I think you can.
I was got with that as well.
Yeah, it's a terrible place to look. But what kind of reassures me about all these signings, whether it's Diamande or whether it's Silva or whether it's Cortez or Hefte if he does come in, is I was listening to Niels Kopp had been interviewed after the Diamande deal was done. And the way he talked about the fact that this was not a short process, it was a long-term process. And it was using so many sources of information to go and get the right player. So he talked about computer data analysis. Then he talked about watching live tape. Then he talked about watching, tape of the lad training. And it just seemed like all bases had been covered this time with bringing these players to the club. And Coppen seems to really know what he's doing.
That's what's good. We've been missing that kind of director of football role, haven't we? In the club, and it's, if this is the start and if these players come good, then the future is looking absolutely exciting, because I looked at this window and I said this before the window started. Whoever does better in this window, I think, probably wins the title. Now, obviously, there's still a couple of days left of the window and, anything can happen. But I honestly do believe whoever does better in this window will probably win the title. And that's the thing. There's a lot at stake. You've got the new Champions League format next season. The Champions League money in general is just, it's just only something clubs in Scotland can really dream of. And we're in a title race. We wouldn't have said that months ago, but we are in a full-on title race. And considering we've lost to them twice and dropped 5 points to Aberdeen out of 6, a title race is on, and that says more about them and us, I think, at the minute. So
absolutely agree. And yeah, I mean, I think if someone had said to us as fans, look, after the Aberdeen defeat at Ibrox, come this period, come January, you'll still be in a position where you can win the league, I think we would have laughed at them and had them taken off to the funny farm, really, because of how far behind we were and how bad the team was playing. But Philippe Clement obviously has been the man that has come in and changed it all. Look, I think, one of the big debates, yes, there are 2 days, I think it is now, two and a bit days left of this January transfer window, with it rather bizarrely closing on the 1st of February this year. The big question and the big debate amongst all Rangers fans is, about striker, and obviously Lawrence Shankland. Now, I've got my views on Lawrence Shankland, which I'll talk about in a moment. What's your take on the whole Lawrence Shankland debate that's currently ongoing amongst the fan base, Andrew?
See, I like Shankland. I think this squad has been missing a Chris Boyd type character. I'm not saying he's a Chris Boyd style player. I think he's got a bit more to his game than what Chris Boyd had. A very important player for Hearts, been banging in the goals for them. They're now comfortably third. There's just something inside me that goes, you know what, it'd be great to have him. However, at this point, Hearts, I think, are quite right to be asking for a large sum of money, if I'm being honest. He's their club captain, and, he's been very formidable for them. So I can understand them wanting to keep a hold of him, and obviously they've been offering him a new contract as well. I don't believe that the club have really broached anything with Hearts RE Shankland. I just think that I know when you look at the style of play with the team, would he fit, would he not fit? He probably wouldn't start every week personally, but I think he's somebody you could turn to off the bench. You know what, get him on, he'll score a goal, and I think that would be the case. I think he would be a useful player in the squad, but yeah, it's the finances. Will it be the summer? Possibly. It's a possibility. We'll have to see. But he's a big Rangers man. You know, I don't know if that always helps in modern football, but he knows how to score a goal and he knows how to score against them and in Europe. So, you know, what's not to like? He knows the Scottish game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, look, there's two sides on this whole Shankland thing. I personally, and I've said this, and this is kind of, look, I would love to see Shankland in a Rangers shirt. I think he could do a job for us. I think it would cost us between £3 and £5 million. But like a lot of people have said, if he comes in, scores 20 goals second half of the season, gets us through another round of the Europa League, well, that gets us into the Champions League probably, because we probably win the league. You get the league prize money, you get the Europa League prize money. He's will have more than paid for himself. So that's one side of it. And also the fact the trading model has to be applied flexibly. You cannot just sign kids, because you don't win anything with kids. And like I said on the video previously, don't say the 99 Man United team, because if you look at that, there was Schmeichel in that team, there was Keane in that team, there was a lot of experience, as well as the kids like the Scholeses and the Nevilles and the Beckhams. So that's one side of it. But the second side of it, and I've kind of been saying this a lot recently, is I don't honestly think, like you, that the club have even looked at him. I don't think he's on Coppen's radar. I think it's very fan driven, and the media, the national media, have kind of picked it up, run with it, because it gets them clicks, it gets them interest from the fans. Rangers fans love the thought of him coming, as Ian Shankland puts here, Ian Dill puts here, coming home. I honestly I don't think he's on Coppen's radar. I think that we will sign a striker, but for me, it will be someone we haven't even thought of or heard of yet.
It's a possibility. We keep the cards very close to our chest at Rangers. We've kind of gone back to that, at least, like what we had in the Gerrard days. It's one of them. I'm a believer in the player trading model. I think that's the only way that Scottish clubs can really make money. However, on the flip side of that, there is that player you need to buy sometimes that's maybe not at the age for selling on, but he's ready made and he's going to score you some goals. So if it was 3 to 4 million, I would say it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. I mean, it is all about making money for us. And I think sometimes you do have to speculate to accumulate. And Philippe Clement did say something very interesting in one of his press conferences once, that he talked about, I think it was after the Hibs game, maybe, or it could have been the one before that. I can't exactly remember. But he did say that, decisions have been made about signing players who are future saleable assets that can be sold on for profit. I'm paraphrasing because I don't know his exact words. But he says you will also be getting players who are for the next 6 months, for the next year, who will secure you your chance of winning the league. So for me, I think Clement is considering older options as well as the younger options.
I think you have to. I think the younger players need to learn from some of the older heads, like you mentioned, the kind of class of '92 team, in a sense, so to speak, or the '99 Man U side. A lot of them kind of kids that were growing up, they're growing up around some absolutely fantastic footballers, and I think that you do need to have, like you look back to Danny Wilson when he was at Rangers back first time around. He had Davy Weir next to him, and he was just fantastic. That he got his move to Liverpool, didn't he? Because of how good he was, but that was because you could see it was coming apart a little bit at Liverpool. He wasn't as I don't want to use the word good, because that he was a good defender, but he just didn't have what he had when he was at Rangers, because he didn't have Davy Weir beside him. So you do need that kind of the kind of experienced players with the youngsters to kind of a whole team of youngsters doesn't always work, and it doesn't normally work.
100%. Thank you, obviously, to our new channel. We've got a new channel member here, Dominic, who has joined the channel. And thank you also to Bluebells Are Blue, who's been a member for 6 months and has gifted 5 memberships. If you want a membership, obviously, just put allow gifts and you can get yourself a membership, thanks to Bluebells Are Blue. William makes an interesting point. He says, if Shankland was a Celtic fan, nobody would be talking about him coming to us. Get real. It's an interesting one. Now, I think this is just a little bit of the press playing, I don't know, being cheeky and going for clicks again. But there was a rumor going around, I think it was last week, wasn't it, Andrew, that Shankland to Celtic?
Yeah, that has popped up a couple of times. We've got to be honest, Rangers keep their cards close to their chest, so the newspapers get nothing anymore, and rightly so, because the way the press has gone in Scotland, it's been, absolute gutter tactics in recent years. So, I can see why they're now just, making anything up as they go along to get the click, and then you click into the article and it's not half of what it's about. Yeah, there's been a few of their fans saying that, he'd be a good fit there possibly. And, it is a possibility. But, I think Shankland was looked at a few times, when he went to Dundee United, he was in the Championship. That would probably been when he was it Queen of the South years ago, when he was just banging in goals for fun. I think we probably would have had a look then. It's one of them that it does pop up every now and then, but because of right now, yeah, it's I don't know, but it's still a couple of days left. I don't know. We'll see what happens. You never know.
Yeah,
if we see him in a green and grey shirt, then we can try and do the old Mo Johnson tactic, for old days' sakes.
Absolutely. And look, I think there will be a striker. I think it is imperative we add a striker, because no matter what your view is on Dessers, whether about his consistency or whatever. I mean, forgetting that, to go into the end of the season, I think with obviously the fact that Danilo is out till April, Kemar Roof, I think we've probably seen the last of him ever in a Rangers shirt, unfortunately. To go into the end of the season with only two strikers, well, one striker and one, say, 10 support striker, to me would be really, really dangerous, especially given our penchant for getting injuries, shall we say.
How many times in the past 3 seasons have we had points in the season where we've just got no players to turn to because of injuries, and we ain't got the squad depth on the bench? It's been ridiculous, if we're being honest. So yeah. Another striker is needed. We need that squad depth, even if it's a loan, not bothered. We do need somebody in, and I do imagine that it's something that Clement would have highlighted, because you can't rely on, because knowing our luck, on the 2nd or 3rd of February, Dessers is out for the rest of the season. It would not surprise me the way that things go at our club.
Yeah, no, it would just be typical, wouldn't it? We the window closes on the 1st, and then the first game after that, obviously, which is the Livingston game on Saturday, something happens to him. He breaks his leg, or he rights his ankle ligaments, or his hamstring goes, or something. It would just be
oh no, we're tempting fate, aren't we?
Yeah, it would be so Rangers, though, wouldn't it? Absolutely so Rangers.
If anything does happen to him at the weekend at Livingston game, everyone will be coming after you now, won't it? Everyone will be coming after you.
It'll be all my fault. Absolutely all my fault. Now, look, I mean, another sort of thing that's really encouraging as well, I mean, in terms of this player trading model and moving forward, has been obviously, Ross McCausland breaking through into the team, and Zeb Jacobs, who's head of the academy. I watched an interview, obviously, with Zeb Jacobs as well, that he's given this in January. That, to me, Andrew, he seems to have the right philosophy in terms of now not only us looking at buying these players, but these young players coming through the system. Jacobs seems to have a real clear vision when he talks about, it's not just about their personal fitness and their personal ability, but it's also about the tactical side of the game. It's about improving their tactical awareness. I'm really impressed with the way the youth system is starting to change at Rangers, and hopefully we'll start to see some of these young players coming through. I think that will also help us develop this trading model.
Do you know what? I totally agree. You look back at Gerrard's time when he was there, and they kind of instilled an ethos across all levels. All levels will do the same things, and they'll have the same ethos, the same methodology, and the same way of looking at football, to coach it right through the club, so that every level it's the same. And it is exciting. You have looked in recent years, obviously we've had McCausland come through. You got Bailey Rice, who's on the fringes at the minute. You got Yefeko as well, who's somebody that is teetering on the edge of the team as well, and you're starting to see some players come through. You looked at Patterson, a few years ago, who we managed to, who kind of kick-started the player trading model, didn't he, with the kind of 60 million sale, after we've been looking at Ockenhowie. And it's a great complex. When you look at complexes in world football, it is fantastic. But in the 20 odd years that it had been going for, there wasn't much coming out of there, not really a lot being produced. Players would be getting either released or going to clubs for, minimal value. It wasn't really paying for itself. And it is good to see, somebody like Zeb Jacobs, who speaks so well when you listen to him. And it's very encouraging as a youth player coming through that system to see a clear pathway as well to potentially playing for the first team, because you're seeing so many players coming through now. It's brilliant.
Absolutely. And I mean, personally, I think Bailey Rice is a class act. one player for me, Andrew, that I'm looking forward to seeing getting back fit, because when he has played the game he did play this season, he was really exciting. Even though there has been some questions over his future at Rangers, Zach Lovelace, I think he can have a part to play in the second half of this season.
He was fantastic. I only saw like him a couple of times, but he was very, very good at moving forward with the ball, you know, very attacking, you know, and he's like he just goes back for more. He's absolutely fantastic. And he had a great spell at Millwall, obviously where we got him from, and he was playing up in the first team there. And you think of the age of him as well. Now, Zach Lovelace is somebody we were crying out for last season when we were going through a lot of problems. And obviously he was it against St Mirren, he got injured, I think, last time around. Yeah, which was so frustrating. Again, the curse, the voodoo doll. So whenever a player's starting to play really well, I think he was getting a cross in, wasn't he? And he just pulled up. Which just sums everything up at the minute. But he was making a bit of an impact in that game. And he is somebody that I think he's had the right path. They put him into the B team and go, right, we're not going to rush this. We're going to, you know, take our time with him. You know, he's got a very good prospect, and it really has helped him being down when we were in the Lowland League and stuff. And yeah, you're totally right. You know, I almost forgot about him because, you know, that injury list that we've got there, it's just unbelievable. But yeah, no, definitely. I don't want to say the words he'll be like a new signing, but he'll be like a new signing when he comes back, I think.
Absolutely. And I hope that Clement, obviously, you know, seen that tape of the first half against St Mirren that he played, because he was a very, very exciting talent. And he even played, I think he played out wide in that game. So a player again that shows that he will play in a number of positions wherever the team needs, and which is obviously very much what Philippe Clement is looking at. Now, obviously, like we said, striker is the main position that needs still to be addressed. Do you think there's any other business done in these last couple of days, Andrew? Do you think there's any other positions, or are those other positions now kind of summer problems, and we'll wait till sort of June, July time to actually make those changes and bring those players in?
I think a couple might go out, if I'm being honest, from us. I don't think we'll sign too many. Obviously, there's been talk tonight of obviously, as you were saying earlier, an offer from Nottingham Forest for Jack Butland. Now, Jack Butland isn't just a fantastic goalkeeper here. He's reassured that defence. Our defence is probably one of the best in Scotland now. There's a nice chemistry between him and that defence. The defence is so much more confident now than what it was before. And I think that helps when you've got a great keeper between the sticks. Obviously, every player has their price. So, you know, if they were to come in with a 15 or 20 million bid, which I don't think will happen, but if they do, I think we probably would sell. But it would be so late in the day to really get an adequate replacement. I'm not saying Robbie McCrory's not adequate. I just don't think he's got the longevity for the rest of the season. And John McLaughlin, I think we saw enough of him, you know, a couple of seasons ago to know that he's not number one material. But I think, you know, there's reports. I think German outlet Builds was saying that that Mainz were looking at Rabbi Matondo possibly as a loan deal. So that is a possibility. But there could be some go out, you know, as the squad's getting slightly more bloated. I could see some players leaving possibly.
Absolutely, 100% agree. And look, I mean, I think, like you said, every player has his price, but I think the club have already said that nothing will be listened for Butland in this January transfer window. And the point I keep making about Butland is, and I know that playing in Scotland slightly obviously depresses your transfer value over players that play in England.
I thought you were going to say just depressing in general. I thought you were going to say that.
No, I like Scotland. I've been to Scotland on a number. I like Scotland. I love coming to Scotland. It's fantastic. I've been to Glasgow loads. I've been to like Ayr and Dumfries and those areas, and I love Scotland. And I've been up to the Mount, to Cairngorms and to the Isle of Skye. So I love Scotland. But Butland, I think, you know, yes, his value will not be obviously as great as an English Premier League player, but for me, when you see Manchester United have paid 47 million, I think it was, for Andre Onana, who is just an absolute disaster. I mean, the guy, he couldn't catch a cold, and he's been dropped by his national team. It kind of makes you think, well, if he's worth that, what on earth is Jack Butland actually worth?
It's a very good question. It is a very good question. You got to admire Jack Butland as well. When he was at Palace, obviously he was on loan at Manchester United. There was obviously talk of De Gea. Obviously, that was his last season. And Jack Butland is a Manchester United fan. So, you know, he potentially, from what it sounds like, did turn down an offer at Old Trafford. Now, I don't think he would have been the number one. I think that was made clear. So that's possibly what swayed him. But you got to admire it. There are other offers on the table, allegedly, and he opted to come to Scotland. And you know what? If you're looking for a good, solid defensive run, especially in the Europa League, I think he potentially could go a few more rounds with somebody like him between the sticks.
Yeah, absolutely. He is. For me, I think Robert says in the live chat, £30 million would be between 20 and £30 million is a fair price for him, to be honest with you.
Definitely.
Easy. And I think, as much as I absolutely love Jack, and I would love Jack to finish his career at Rangers, of course I would, because the guy's just an absolute different class. But if a bid of between 20 and 25, 30 million comes in, we've got to consider it.
You can't turn that down, can you? You can't turn that down. No, not for a club like us. Yeah, totally agree with you there, Owen.
I mean, yeah, like I said, it would have been great back in the day. Obviously, it would have been considered under Walter, under Dick, under Graham Souness. But now we're just not in that position anymore, unfortunately. And that's just the modern economics, isn't it? So, Billy Getty says Rice and the boy from Aberdeen could make a good future midfield base. I think he's making reference there to Connor Barron. So have you seen any? I've seen a bit of Connor Barron. I've gone away and had a look at him because I know he was suggested by people. He looks a very good player. He's out of contract in the summer. I certainly hope that he could be someone we're looking at, hopefully, for whether it's as a pre-contract now or whether we do it in the summer. I don't know, but he looks quality, Andrew.
I imagine a few clubs will be looking at him. Hopefully, we are one of them. It'd be mad if another Scottish player kind of goes out the door with some prospect, because you look at ones that have actually gone to Europe in recent years, and you just think to yourself, they've become absolutely fantastic. Obviously, a player that I, thought was okay, Lewis Ferguson. I wasn't really one that was like, oh, we should sign him, but. Yeah, it's one of them. And I think now you look at the Scotland national team, people are looking at Scottish players a little bit more. We're definitely going through a little bit of a better period for player development coming through. There's no more kind of the players like Steve Fulton, the Baggio, labels that they used to get, and when nothing much would come of them. We actually do have players that do have prospect in this country now. And of course, now with the European quotas, it's handy to have some Scottish players in the team.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Now, if we do go and we do sign a striker in the next couple of days, and that's it, we've got striker, Cortez, hopefully the Hefte deal gets done, or Jeff Taylor, whatever he's called, deal gets done. Obviously, we've got Diamande, Silva. We keep this squad fit, which I think is the essential thing, with the likes of Cantwell, Raskin gets back to fitness, the defence stay fit, Butland stays fit. Can we win the league? Andrew, is this a genuine squad that can win the league?
It's hard to say. We've seen this squad falter at times in recent years. The last two Old Firm games, despite that lot having two makeshift defences, we've come up short. Now, obviously, the first game at Ibrox, there was some refereeing controversy that didn't help, and I think that was kind of the same in the second game. But we're not saying it's all on that. It's the way we were playing as well. We didn't do enough in those games. Personally, I'm going to go all out and say yes. I think we will win the league. I think they have more problems their end of the city than what we do. I think we're a little bit more patient as well. So I think when things are going wrong, we're not throwing sharks and calling for the board to be, dismembered and all this ridiculous nonsense. It's quite self-entitled at the other end of the city sometimes when they talk about, when they've had, title after title, trophy after trophy, treble after treble, and things are going slightly wrong. I just have a funny feeling that, obviously I don't know much about what's going on over there. However, things don't look quite rosy there. I don't know if that's with the manager, the board, or if it's just all the heat from the fans. I think that, there is the possibility they drop some points. They've got some hard games coming up. Now, we all play the same amount of games over a season. So, we're the one team that just said there that potentially are still on for a quadruple at the minute. I'm not saying we'll get a quadruple, but, we are one of them that's there. We've won a trophy already that, back in the day, the old League Cup, the Skull Cup used to be the springboard to the title. Well, it could very well be, you never know. But you know what? We're in a title race. If we win our game in hand, we'll be 2 points behind. next Old Firm games at Ibrox, oh, it's very much on. It is very much on. And I'm genuinely surprised that they haven't made real clear signings. They've made one, but they haven't really made any roads. And don't get me wrong, we've still got a day and a bit to go, haven't we, until the window closes. But yeah, I thought there'd be a bit more activity over there. But well, we'll see. I would say we're winning it. I would say we're winning it just based on nothing but the position we're in. We've fought back to here. We can't let that go. There's a lot at stake. Winning the title, Champions League next season. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think obviously, the Champions League next season would obviously make a lot better fist of with Philippe Clement being the guy organising the team.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
he took Bruce to the Bernabeu and got a draw there, which is no mean feat, and he knows what he's doing, and that's why I have confidence that we can win the league. I think, yes, it does depend on bringing in a striker. As Curry said way back in the live chat here, he said without a new striker we'll struggle, especially if Dessers gets injured. That's correct. Obviously we lost that Seville final because of the fact we didn't have a striker.
Yeah,
it is absolutely imperative we bring in at least one new striker before it closes on the 1st of February, rather bizarrely at 11:30 at night on the 1st of February, which does seem rather odd. But I did see a very interesting thing actually about Celtics, about that a lot. I don't like talking about them, but it was on, I think it was on X, something like they've spent 50-odd million in the last 2 years, yet they're still moaning they don't spend money, which is, to me, seems an utter joke. I think it's just, like you said, the self-entitled nature of their fan base.
Yeah, no, that can be the case, can it? It's it's that goldfish bowl of Scottish football. You have a couple of bad results, and it's the end of the world. I know that we've not exactly had it great in recent years, but I don't think we go to the levels of madness that they seem to achieve when things aren't going their way.
Absolutely, 100%. Thank you to Daniel, obviously another new YouTube channel member. Thank you so much for that, guys. Obviously, a lot of you have been watching tonight. Please smash that like. Andrew, as we sort of close it up tonight, it's been going for about an hour now. Just let everyone know where they can find you and find your channel and find your work.
Yep, at the Ibrox channel on Twitter, or my personal Twitter is at OJMeister87. Obviously, got a website as well, which is theibroxchannel.com. Do look for that, and you'll find the podcast on all major platforms. If you're looking for the podcast on the platforms, it's under the new Ibrox channel podcast, so just search that and you'll find it. But thank you for having me on, Owen. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, mate.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on, Andrew. And a few people suggesting that you work for Talk Sport, actually, in the live chat. I don't know if you noticed that.
I couldn't replace Super Ali. He's too good.
Well, I think you know what? I had you more down replacing Simon Jordan with the amount of rubbish. So yeah, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will put let's just put the link up. What I'll do is, Andrew, if you email me all your links, what I'll do is I'll drop it into this description of this video when I update it and upload it properly in the morning.
Cool. No worries.
Thank you so much. Also got to give a shout out as well, my partner, my girlfriend, watching the show as well. Not a huge football fan, but still supporting. Thanks, Nav. Love you. Thanks for watching. Here we go. Keep on the right side. Right, guys. Thank you so much to everyone on the live chat. It has been a fantastic live chat tonight. Loads of good comments. Been trying to pull your comments up throughout the show as Andrew and I have been talking. So we'll be back later in the week with another podcast. We'll also be back with a live stream of the Livy game on Saturday, so come and join us for that. And as always, guys, there's 2 things I ask of you on the way out. Number 1 is to smash the like, and number 2 is to always remember, never forget, we are the people.